Hi folks, 9toenelson here. Today I'm going to be working on a simple project that is basically one that you have to do quite a bit, especially if you're going to be doing some larger projects on your bike. And especially if you have a bike that has fairings, plastics, some people say Tupperware, whatever you want to call it, it sometimes has to come off in order to do a larger project. What I'm leading up to here is the replacement of my steering head bearings. Finally starting to show their age, and I figure might as well get it done and do a bit of a video on it. But today I'm going to start simply on the plastics. It's not difficult. It actually is really, in most cases, just a screwdriver, an Allen wrench perhaps, but it does have a process. You can't just start randomly and pull things off. If you don't have a service manual, there are a lot of resources online. Hopefully this will become one of them. Every bike is different, so see what you can find for your specific make and model, but you will find it's pretty simple once you know what order to go in. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and start working on pulling these off. I've got a couple of extra things that I have on here that I've fabricated and put in place, and we'll work on getting those removed as well, quick and simple. So here we go. All right, so as I mentioned, I got these guys on here that I accidentally said I had fabricated, a buddy of mine had fabricated to fit my bike, because unfortunately, this motorcycle wasn't made to accommodate hard luggage, but I needed it to, so made it happen. And these are great. They are GV V35s, I believe, and I've had them for years. Been able to pack a great deal of luggage and gear in them for long distance. And that was why I had done it, was to be able to travel long distance comfortably and easily. And with these 3 points, that's how I get it on and off. Special tool made by GV, for GV, and that's that. And of course, same process over here. Quick little quarter turn. There you go. So like I said, it's a simple process. In most cases, I haven't found a bike that I've worked on, and I've worked on a handful, that have any specific tips, or rather tricks to it. But like I mentioned a moment ago, there is an order to things. If you don't start in the right spot, you find yourself locked in, you end up cracking something. And if you don't already, it's always a good idea to have a magnetic bowl that will keep your screws safe and in the same place. This is another good reason to double check, if not a service manual, at least the parts fiche that you can find online for your make and model, to know where the little hidden screws like this one are and this one here. You might miss them and it could cause you a crack or a problem similar to that you would rather avoid.
There we go. Gotcha.
Now the thing about these screws here is that they are plastic as opposed to metal, which means when you're putting them back in, they have a tendency to snap. And long ago, a service technician at a motorcycle shop gave me a little tip, which was, when screwing these in, screw them in lightly, just to the point where you can see a deformation in the reflection of the paint. In other words, you see it just kind of shift a little bit in the lighting, and then you're good. And I found that to hold true. Never had a problem with them since, other than if they were old. Once they get to be very old, they become more brittle, snap more easily. And usually you can tell because they start to change from black to white, gray. That's usually just due to exposure to the sun and the air. Thankfully, they're not too expensive to replace. There we go. Now these two screws, from my experience, are kind of slippery. So I add a magnet to the process just to be sure. I know there are such things as magnetized screwdrivers and other tools, but they're usually not strong enough to hold on in every case. So, like I said, from experience, these two like to run free as often as they can. And this magnet has always done me right. Besides, what's the harm in having a little extra strength in the process here? See? Even with that, this one's being difficult. There we go. And then to top it off, the removal of this piece, it's always been a pain, but I've learned that it's a little more flexible than I first gave it credit for, so I can bend it in and out as I need to. Okay, so there it is. She's done. Plastics are all off. Only thing that's remaining is tank, which is going to stay on. No reason to remove it. Next attack is going to be the steering head bearings. So that's going to be a task for another day. This was to show you guys how to basically remove the plastics, fairings, Tupperware, whatever you'd like to call it, and how easy it actually is. It's just a matter of putting the time into it, taking your time to make sure you've got everything covered, removed all the screws before you start pulling things apart. Hear like little cricks and cracks that you don't want to hear. And putting it back together is just as easy. Reversal of the process. But we will do that. So, if you guys have any questions or comments about this video, please feel free to post it in the comment section below. And I will be happy to do my best to reply to all of them. And with that said, as I always say, ride safe, ride smart, and have fun.